After coming to a lull of ideas for videos for the first time in a while, my mind has just been clouded with the mundaneness of my favorite sports organizations, the Green Bay Packers and the Golden State Warriors. After you hear those names, you may realize I'm fairly new to these feelings of helplessness as a loyal sports fan. So something I find really interesting is the day-to-day lives of fans of other subpar organizations, specifically how being a fan of one of those teams can affect a person on a small day-to-day scale, such as how often a team can ruin a fan's given night, or even bigger scale issues like a metaphorical seasonal depression coinciding with their team's regular season. Think 2007 Lions, the Trust the Process 76ers, the Kings every year before this one since like 2005, and much more. I want to discover how this choice of fandom can affect a person's life, mind, and emotions, especially along the highs and lows of a given season. So, after hours of scripting and research, I've reached a conclusion. Let's get into it. Okay, so before we dive into details, let's lay the groundwork for maybe any viewers that need some extra info about the treacherous team-to-fan dynamic. For a lot of us sports fans, growing up we were introduced to our sport through some factor in our environment, whether that be a family tradition, geographic location, a friend, or even something like social media. And from that point forward, unless you're like me who was a fan of a few teams before I settled into my true favorites as a youngin', win, lose, or draw, that's your team and you're sticking with them. This has a lot to do with the natural desire for a person to want to get a return on their investment. No kidding, the amount of time, emotions, and feelings poured into being a fan of one of your favorite sports teams will lead you as a fan to become a hopeless romantic with your team before it all inevitably comes crashing down. And if this hasn't happened yet, just wait, it will. I'm looking at you, Patriots fans. Daniel L. Wan, psychologist and social science PhD recipient, sums up this phenomenon with an analogy. The quote goes as follows. Sport fandom is really unique. It's a voluntary activity where you understand there's a pretty good chance when you finish consuming the product, you're not going to be happy with it. He adds, if you buy a delivery pizza from somebody 6 times and 3 times it's late, cold, and the wrong pizza, you don't keep going back. But as we know, we all do. So what can come from that? With looking at this theory as an investment, it's in line that there could be a positive return on the investment at times. Like I said, if it's good right now, wait, albeit some fans are just more blessed than others at any given time. To begin the meat of this video, let's first examine the social science take on this theory before I get into my personal commentary on the topic. Research has shown that a given person's fandom to a sports team has equal footing in terms of someone's identity as factors like nationality, ethnicity, and even gender. As is stated in Sports Complex, The Science Behind Fanatic Behavior by Shirley Wank. We see examples of this all the time. The rowdiness of Buffalo Bills fans, the anger that resides in the entirety of the 76ers fan base, or even something like the perceived stuck-upness of Boston sports fans. A recurring theme in social science aspects of this theory largely revolves around the researchers not being able to discover why anybody would invest so much time into an organization that they maybe enjoy 50% of the time. So why is that? Outside of being born into sports fandom, why does anybody end up tying themselves to a doomed program like the long-cursed Chicago Cubs of old, and many more I can name? Let's start with a person's natural desire to find belonging. This is often termed as social togetherness, and this sense of group affiliation will in turn lead to a better social psychological well-being for individuals. Many researchers even suggest that if it wasn't for the social aspect of the team and sport, the amount of fans would drop tenfold. Look at the huge surge of impact in things like NBA and NFL Twitter, and other social medias to a certain extent as well. This rise of the social branch of sports has attracted the vast majority of sports fans, even if they didn't realize it. It's reported that a shockingly high clip of 95% of NFL game attendees came to the game with a friend or family member. It's often an experience for passionate fans of sports teams to not even view the sport as a simple source of entertainment anymore, and instead as a nostalgic or emotional experience. Okay, that's just one of 3 factors that lead to unrelenting commitment to a sports team regardless of their success level, that being the desire for social togetherness. As for the other, it's been coined as an extension of self. Simply put, The idea of having a strong fandom associated with a given sports team can impact a person's self-esteem. Consider the fact that this can have a positive and/or negative effect on your self-esteem, but it is what it is. A study highlighted in the research article I mentioned previously specifically tried to find this connection between team success and a person's confidence or perceived confidence level by showing the survey participants clips of their respective favorite teams either winning or losing an important game and then asking them questions related to their own chance at achieving a difficult goal. The person who worked this study was quoted as saying, "The most powerful thing we found that was for highly allied fans, they really did view the team success akin to how they would view a personal success in relation to the study's findings. Or simply put, fans who watched their team win reported significantly higher estimates of the team's future performance, their own task performance, and personal self-esteem than those who watched their team lose." Moving forward, it has also been established that the fans of more commonly winning franchises will likely point to team performance as their primary reason for fandom. For commonly losing ones, it instead becomes other aspects of the team. For example, how much someone likes a given player. I'll use some unfortunate NBA YouTubers who are also Bulls fans as examples, as even guys like Kenny and Rusty Buckets would point to their appreciation of guys like Io DeSumo and DeRozan miles before they bring up their team performance as a reason for their fandom. Albeit that seems like a given now that I said it out loud. Even more so, scientists compare a fan's relationship to their team to a person's relationship with a family member or friend, in the sense of even when the going gets tough, fans will work around their failings to maintain their fandom. And the final leg to this scientific approach lies within what happens when the impossible turns probable when your team's successes start to flip. It has been proven that watching your favorite sports team win can lead to a chain reaction of a cortisol hormone release, which leads to a release of the dopamine chemical in your brain, which, if you didn't know, is essentially a feeling of being rewarded and positive feelings, or just happiness. Kind of like how everyone says LeBron's 1 ring in 2016 means more than KD's 2 in his entire tenure with the Warriors, the same goes for this. Yeah, bandwagon fans of the Rams last year can squeeze every last metaphorical drop of enjoyment they can out of that Super Bowl win, but can never hold a candle to the sense of pride and sheer euphoria that rushes into the veins of fans of the 2016 Chicago Cubs, the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers, or the 2018 Philadelphia Eagles. Hell, even throw the 2011 Dallas Mavericks in there as well. Nothing can match up to staying by your team's side, highs and lows, from winning to losing to hopelessness, and then to summit that mountain again. How could you not be romantic about sports? Which brings us to our next section of this theory, which has much more to do with just that. The romance, the emotion, the humanity part of being stuck in losing perpetuity. Now, where we'll be taking a step back from all the research article talk and moving into why I believe fans like this exist and my own experience with them. Personally, there are some moments I've had watching my favorite sports teams that I'll never forget, no matter how bad my memory may get. Like, for example, watching Curry hit that half-court game winner at OKC, or Rodgers' 2-minute drill comeback versus the Cowboys where he threw that sideline bomb to Mercedes Lewis. Even at times where I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, I'll never forget those moments. I know I'm not alone in this too. Hell, even back in the days of the Roman Empire, there were thousands that would gather to view the gladiators compete in the Colosseum. And again, with that time and financial investment comes a shift in the fan-team dynamic. A big reason you'll hear devoted sports fans refer to their team's actions in a we form instead of a them form. This can extend into a blend of the team and local identity too, when fans of a local sports team will adopt a common mentality and vice versa. So if you just happen to end up choosing a more historically unlucky franchise, the short-term returns can be tough, as you see your team lose night in and night out. Being a Packers fan, I've witnessed Lions fans struggle yearly within the NFC North. That is, until this year, where I'm seeing my team struggle while the Lions surpass several expectations and are currently in the hunt for the playoffs. That's the payoff I'm referring to that allows for these fans to put up with mediocrity for so long. Because imagine, just imagine, the streets of Detroit once the Lions finally achieved the long unfounded goal. Even the Bills, for example, after losing 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s, I can guarantee you that just one championship victory will make everything right in the world once more for those Buffalo fans. That is something no bandwagon fan could ever hope to experience. So as we close out this video, you may be searching for a reason on why you still follow your hopeless organization as they stumble and fall their way through yet another regular season. But just remember, there is more good than bad gained from a losing season anyway. In reality, the reason you continue to be a fan of this organization is you care about a select few players a good bit and feel like you belong to the fan base, whether that be in the large collective sense or just your family members. That's not such a negative after all. Even though each season can be filled with great amounts of heartbreak on a game-to-game basis, a lot can be gained in a lost season. For example, your team might be so awful that you get a high round draft pick next season. But maybe you aren't so fortunate. Looking at you, Kings and Bulls fans, who's been stuck with like the 7th to 15th pick each year in the draft. And that can definitely suck. But even so, we all continue to be fans and hope of that one moment of pure nirvana where we can see our team hoist the trophy at the end of the postseason. And I hope we all get to experience that moment at least once in our sports fans' lives. And if the parity continues to increase in the NBA and the NFL like it has been recently, I think it's more possible than ever. For the most part, that concludes my thoughts and research on the topic of what happens in the mind of perpetually losing sports fans. But what do you guys think? Do you have another theory on why you stand at the side of your most impoverished franchise as they disappoint you for another season? Or maybe you're one of the lucky ones and you just decide to experience a little of what us losing fans have been feeling this year. No matter what group you belong to or what type of fan you are, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of the reality of sports fandom in the modern day. This video has been made by Underdog. Peace.